Hello and welcome to TORX onto the orange sofa here in Courmayeur. I am delighted to welcome to the studio Lucja Leonard of Great Britain, but by way of the Netherlands and Australia and the United States. Welcome, Lucja.
Thanks very much. Glad to be here.
Very exciting to have you here in the studio. So now this is your first tour.
It is my first tour, so I'm very excited, a little bit nervous, I have to say, but excited to be here.
Excellent. Well, we are looking forward to hearing about your feelings and excitement and so on for the tour. But tell me, you weren't always a runner.
No, I definitely was not a runner. As I grew up in school, I used to forge my parents' signature to skip sports class. That is how much of a non-runner I was. And yeah, as I went into my teens and early adulthood, I got extremely overweight. And yeah, I was a big girl. I was a size 20 and yeah, sort of topping up nearly 100 kilograms, and came to a point where I decided I needed to lose some weight and started going to the gym and started doing a bit of jogging, you know, one lamp post and then walk the next, and slowly that developed into running for maybe 30 minutes non-stop when I thought I might enter my first 10-kilometre race. And yeah, I did that. I was so nervous at the start line. I was shaking, sweating, thought that I would come last, which doesn't really matter if you come last or not.
Still.
But yeah, I finished that and I'd had such a fun time that I thought maybe I could do a half marathon. And that developed then into a full marathon. And when I was running my first marathon, which was Amsterdam, being from the Netherlands, I was running with a pacer, and he had a shirt on that was a 100k finisher from some race. I don't even remember what race, but it just like piqued my interest. I was like, 100 kilometres? Who runs 100 kilometres? That's insane. And yeah, that just sort of sparked an interest. I couldn't even imagine finishing the marathon at that point, but I did. And yeah, later, the year after actually, my husband bought me a book for my birthday, which was The World's Toughest Endurance Challenges. It's a great coffee table book with some fantastic adventures in there. And he said after we'd had a few drinks was to open the book, put my finger on whatever came up first, and it was the Kalahari Ochabi's Extreme Marathon. And yeah, that's a multi-stage like the MDS, so 6 stages, 7 days, carrying all your food and kit to survive in the desert of South Africa, and 250 kilometres over the 6 stages. So we went and did that, and yeah, an addiction was born, I must say.
Incredible story, because you hear quite a lot of these sorts of stories, and for people who think, well, I could never do that, it's always really reassuring to hear that you can go from absolute zero to hero, if you'll pardon the expression. And it just, I think it's always so inspiring to hear that. What did you particularly love moving from road to trail or desert or whatever it would be? What was there some sort of sense of what did it give you?
Yeah, I mean, it's so much more of an adventure. Running on the road is great for fitness and, you know, gets you from A to B, and you see some amazing sights on the city marathons, but nothing like the trail where it's just you and nature. I mean, I don't even listen to music when I'm out on the trails. It's just so inspiring to be out there, and especially once you start doing the mountains, which is what drew me to this race. It's, you know, when you sit down here in Courmayeur and you look up and you're just like, oh my gosh, how on earth are we going to get up there? But somehow, one foot in front of the other, you get there, and it's just such a feeling of accomplishment and just being in the beauty of nature, and yeah, it just makes you feel so empowered and so strong, yet at the same time, like, you realise how small you are when you're up there and the mountains are so big. Yeah, it's just an amazing combination, and the people you meet along the way. Everyone has their own reasons for being here and their own stories, and they're all fascinating. And yeah, I think we're all in it together when we're out there. I think that's the difference to road running as well. Road running is very much like about you. It's you against the clock to get there, whereas especially in ultra trail, it's all about helping each other and being there for each other and getting everyone to the finish line. So yeah, I really love that about the sport, so that's great.
And so you've come from road running to the Kalahari to the Tour via many other different races here in Europe, in the UK where you lived for a while, in the States where you now live, so you've got a good breadth of experience around the world of racing. And we've spoken before, and I asked you about the leap from the sort of 170, 185k races to the distance of the tour. And you had a thing, you said you were not too bothered about the distance, but there is something that is slightly daunting you.
Well, yes. So I have done 3 of the 200 plus milers in the US, so Bigfoot, Tahoe and Moab, 240 miles. So the distance itself doesn't worry me. I mean, it is always a task to do the distance, but it's the elevation gain. I mean, we're doing 2.3 times the height of Mount Everest. I mean, that is just insane.
When you put it like that.
Yeah. And even Bigfoot 200 is probably the closest I can compare, and that has just slightly less than half of what the elevation gain is here. So, you know, for that one, I was out for 89 hours. So I had pretty much 3.5 nights with no sleep, or minimal sleep. So, yeah, this is, I mean, some of the climbs are going to take, 4 to 5 hours to get to the top. And I've heard the longest descent is like 20 miles descending. And I mean, that scares me because there's so much that can happen too. And I've done a few races around here in Chamonix, and you just know the mountain is in control. The weather can change in a second. So yeah, it's not just yourself you're battling against, but it's the weather as well. So, and I've become a bit of a fair weather runner being in the US. So yeah, I'm hoping that the Italian Alps are going to be kind.
Well, as you say, anything can happen out there. Even looking forward in the forecast, you can never really be sure what's going to happen.
No.
Because it depends whether you're in the valley at that point or up in the mountains. And you said earlier you don't listen to music. So how do you keep yourself going? How do you motivate yourself? How do you, I guess, switch off a little bit? You have to keep concentrated, but obviously you need to zone out just to sort of keep going, or do you?
Yeah, I guess it's a mixture of things. Like sometimes it is zoning out completely and not thinking about anything at all and just admiring the views. Sometimes it's thinking, head to toe, like what's going on? Am I hot? Am I cold? Do I need to eat, drink? Any hot spots? And sort of, doing a whole check through your whole body. Other times it's talking to the other competitors. That's fun as well. It takes your mind off the miles that you're doing and can make a climb sort of disappear when you're having a really good conversation. And one thing with these races is you have really deep conversations. Like people bare their soul out there, and what happens on trail stays on trail, but you certainly get to know people very deeply, very quickly, because you're at your most vulnerable. And, I think a lot about, my husband and my dog and my cat, thinking about them and making them proud. And also, I've got crew with me, so thinking about, I don't want to make it tough on them. I want them to have a good time, so I want to be in high spirits. So using that as motivation, and motivation of everyone that's out there that's following our dots along. Don't want them to stay up forever. But it's kind of inspiring and motivating to know that people are watching you and willing you on. And normally when you switch your phone back on, there's like thousands of messages, and that's really inspiring too. And I love hearing from people that say, you've inspired me to go and run further or attempt something that is, what seems impossible at the time. So yeah, that's really motivating.
Because impossible is different stages for different people, isn't it?
Yeah.
So for someone, as you well know, and as I know, going out to run a 5K can seem insurmountable.
Exactly.
And yet then you just build up. So that's a great, it's a good thing to hear that you've inspired somebody on.
Yeah. And I have been watching, I know a lot of people have watched it, but Ted Lasso. So that was my word, his word believe was my word for Tahoe, and I'm carrying that through to tour. And it's all just about belief in myself and believing that I can do it, I can get to the finish line. So yeah, I think that's very important.
Now tell me, in these other races, you sort of hear about different races having different personalities, and what I keep hearing, this is my first tour as well,
yes.
what I keep hearing is that this one is very special. Have you heard about this, and are you looking forward to the whole region knowing exactly why you're doing this crazy thing out there?
Yes, yeah, I have heard that the whole region just gets so behind it that even all the tiny villages, that the people come out from young to old, and they all know what it's about. They all know we're all trying to become giants. And yeah, I think there's a real passion behind it. I know some of the other ones I've done, people don't have a clue. They sort of come up to you and say, what are you doing? And they don't quite grasp it. And I think that's going to be amazing out here, is just to have everyone knowing what you're doing and being out there supporting you and being excited for you and cheering you on. I think, yeah, that'll make it really special as well. well. So,
Great.
yeah.
And in terms of goals, am I allowed to ask what goals are for the week?
Well, ultimately to
be
finish,
signing this.
yes, I want to sign the poster as well. So that, of course, is probably everybody's goal. But I'd be lying if I didn't have other goals. So I do have a goal A, which to me would feel like I would be Courtney Dauwalter finishing UTMB.
Yes. It doesn't
so,
want to be Courtney Dauwalter, quite frankly.
So if I did anywhere near 110 hours, I would feel like I've won the race. You know, you'll see me at the line going, "Where's all the media?" You know.
Don't come in at 2 a.m. then.
Oh, right.
I'll be asleep.
But the more realistic and kind of a great goal to have would be the 120 to 125. I'd like to be a day ahead of the cut-offs. That would be a nice, comfortable spot to be. But then otherwise, if I have to crawl across the line, that is the ultimate goal. I think you said your husband calls it the gold, silver and bronze.
Exactly. So he sets himself the 3 tiers of expectations. And I think that's a good way to go, because then you have to be realistic with yourself at certain points in the race. I'm not going to make this, so I'll shift the goalposts within reason, and then we'll work towards that. So it still gives you the goal, but not just...
I'm going to give up. I'm going to give up because I'm not doing the 110. Yeah, absolutely. Because things change, you know.
Of course they do.
If you have a great day or a few days, then and everything works as it should, then fantastic. But we all know so many things can go wrong over a period of 6 days that we have. So, yeah.
Well, listen, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting. We wish you all the very best, and we hope to see the signature on the yellow backdrop at the end in a week's time, hopefully.
Yes, and I'll try and do a civilised finishing time.
Well,
in my
nice
plan.
To see you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lucia Leonard of Great Britain, as I say, via the Netherlands and Australia and America. But thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me.